Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to open up a wrestling daycare for the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, because during this weekend, I can't believe I made so many of them cry like babies. What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast with your favorite podcaster, Marie Shadows. And we're going to jump right into it because there's a lot of drama to cover. And I'm going to go over MLW because I worked the show on June 26th for Summer of the Beast. And I am so grateful for all of the opportunities that I ever get in professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is not glamorous. It really isn't. We can definitely put makeup and do green screen and do all this stuff to make it look so perfect. But professional wrestling is not perfect, and that's what I love about it. The internet is not perfect either, even though the internet has been teaching and the buzzword of the whole entire year, educate. Maybe not the whole year, but it's a dying buzzword. But the internet educates these wrestling fans in a way where it doesn't make sense. They all want to live in their bubble. They all want to believe the bullshit, and they all want to believe the dirt sheets, and they will start talking the same talking points as the dirt sheets while clutching onto their pearls. And the moment you call it out, they're going to say, no, these are my original thoughts. No, sir, you never had an original thought. You follow the crowd, you follow the sheep, and I'm here to call that out, and I'm here to be consistent in all of my views. Nobody on the internet is going to misrepresent what me, Marie Shadows, and all the brand that I have built. So the Square Circle Podcast, the Tape Study Series, the Ringology, Crossroads, coming soon, everything that I have built, everything that I have said, you guys on the internet will not misrepresent me or even really badly paraphrase the things that I have said on my own podcast, on my own Twitter timeline, and I keep it consistent with what I want in professional wrestling. Because all I want in professional wrestling is for it to improve, and all the boys, including the females. That also includes females when I say including all the boys, because you guys are one of us too, okay? You guys are one of us, and we appreciate that you also want to be in professional wrestling. You're just one of us. You're part of the group. You're part of the wrestling ecosystem. You keep it thriving as much as the men. You don't have to compete for anything. We see you, okay? I want everybody to be better in this industry. So this is what I do with the Square Circle Podcast. I talk about issues in professional wrestling. I talk about issues that arise on the Twitter timeline. And when I interact with these babies, they tend to give me content. And I honestly do not like turning the drama into content, but I'm able to give perspective and nuance to certain situations, certain conversations that I just really can't do with me being limited on Twitter because I don't have a blue check mark. And yes, I will say it here that if I do get a blue check mark, it is going to be for money, and it is going to be something because I want those features of Twitter to expand what I do, because Twitter is my home. So I have no problem saying that I will pay for a blue check mark. For people that want to be bullies and be like, you pay for Twitter. Well, what else am I going to do if no other platform gives me the tools that Twitter can give me? And everybody uses Twitter more than anything else because Twitter is real time and I could connect with people around the world. And that is also another mission and a goal of mine, is to connect with people around the world. We saw how very great that was with Twitter Spaces, that anybody could come in from anywhere around the world and you can talk to them about anything. So yes, I am straight up about that. Okay, so here's what happened. So Twitter is open to everybody. As we know, it is a public platform and anybody can read anything, anybody can reply to anything, but just don't be a jackass about it. Just don't do that. So on Thursday was Summer of the Beast, June 26th. I am there as media press this time. I wasn't helping out talent, even though I made an opportunity for myself and was able to be helping out talent with the meet and greet. And that's what I do. Even though I am media press, I do not sit around being like, oh my God, I'm media press. You know, I am always like, okay, cool. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be media press. However, I do see that you guys might not have enough people. I'm here to help you. Where can I be? Put me in somewhere where I could be adaptable. And I helped out with Yuki and Wakana, their lines, the Joshi wrestlers that MLW had. And we also had help with Mystico as well, with all of his Spanish fans that came in for the meet and greet. It was fantastic. So just so you know, when I get to a place that I am credited as media press, I am always going to try to work for that opportunity and even make some opportunities and be like, hey, this is where you can use me. This is what I can do. I don't just sit around being like, oh my God, I'm media press. I'm the princess over here. No, I don't do that. So meet and greets are done. I got the chance to meet Kenta and I fangirled. Of course I did, because Kenta is one of my favorites and he got me into watching Pro Wrestling Noah, and he really enjoyed that I knew my history about his career and wrestling. And so we took a picture. And then after that, I hung out with Matt Riddle. I'll save my story for another time with Matt Riddle because he's a very interesting character. Very, very interesting character. But I have nothing but good things to say about Matt Riddle. You guys could get upset at that if you want to. And then after that, the MLW show starts. And during the tapings, because yes, we did tapings before the actual live stream, I got to witness, along with everybody in the arena or the intimate venue of the Melrose Ballroom, that New Japan Pro Wrestling arrived at MLW. If you guys don't know, MLW does have a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's why we're able to get Kojima. That's why we're able to get Kenta. That's why we're able to get other superstars such as Kushida. However, on this day of June 26, 2025, we presented awards to Suga Bayashi, who is still the chairman of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and also Tiger Hattori, the legendary referee. We presented them with awards, and I did not know this was happening. No one told me this was happening. And yes, I started to tear up because this is something that I want. I want New Japan Pro Wrestling to know that there are people out there that love the product, that want New Japan Pro Wrestling to succeed, that hates the way that New Japan Pro Wrestling is now. And I will continue to use my voice and my platform and my podcasting to bring awareness to things that need to improve. It's not me being anti AEW. It's not me being anti anything else. How can I be anti if I want something to improve? If you don't want something to improve, you would just curse it to hell high waters, man. Like, you would just be like, this is so stupid. You shouldn't watch it. You guys should give me all the super chats because I just want to be negative about it. No, there's nothing negative about saying, hey, let's improve New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hey, AEW has damaged New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling is bare bones at this very moment. Hell, Zack Sabre Jr. became two-time NJPW champion. Why? When there are other wrestlers that have been waiting to get that championship belt that can give New Japan Pro Wrestling maybe a feeling of purpose again, an urgency again, where you want to get a subscription to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, but they put it back on Zack Sabre Jr. That's not going to do a return on investment to get new subscriptions. So back to the ceremony. New Japan Pro Wrestling was awarded really cool awards. I don't remember what they were, but we did it in such a way where it felt great. And the only reason why I was tearing is because, again, this is what I want for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I want them to know that they are loved. And so I was just thinking that maybe this meant that their partnership got a little bit stronger because we have been seeing a lack of New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers coming over to MLW. But MLW is doing a very smart thing by going at a slow, steady pace. But seeing this kind of was like, hey, maybe something new, something interesting is going to be happening and going on. Now, do I want a MLW and AEW partnership? No, I don't. I will accept MJF back into MLW for what he did, and I'll get there in a second. But I do not want AEW to touch anything of MLW, just because anything that AEW touches, it damages. And nobody wants to understand that. I'll get back to that in a second. Let me go back to MLW. And so the people that were around me, I was like, yo, is MLW going to save New Japan Pro Wrestling? You guys are going to save it, right? I'm just asking questions. I'm just being a fan. I don't know if they are. And I don't know if anybody on Twitter or on social media considers me an insider, because I am on the front lines and doing this as a hands-on kind of gig. I don't consider myself an insider, so I'm not going to break news, but I will confirm that Okada was backstage at MLW. That was pretty cool. I didn't get to see him, but I can confirm that he was backstage and that he was visiting friends in MLW. But I don't know what else that's going to come about. And so, as I say all of this, I can still be a fan as I am a podcaster and I am a content creator, and I can ask all the questions that I want to. And I can tell people online that I am hoping MLW to save New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is what I said. I was having a conversation with another Twitter user in one of my threads, and I was just being a fangirl, and I was just being a fan of MLW because I am very proud of everything that MLW has been doing. MLW has one of the best rosters that I love working with. MLW gets the best ring crew that I have ever worked with. And I have been on the indies for a very, very long time. I have all that documented on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast with my vlogs. And I can tell you that the indies that I worked with are nothing compared to MLW. MLW is basically the place to be, and I love being part of the family. And I can tell you that they have a very good high standard for what they want when the shows are happening, when the fans are there, and when we do the meet and greets, and when I work with the ring crew. Everybody is fantastic. And so when people do not like you online, they get very courageous and decide to screenshot you when they can just continue one of the conversations if they understand how the conversation works, because it has been proven to me over the weekend that nobody knows how a conversation works. Nobody understands how it works. So this is how it works. Two people are having a conversation, and depending on the vibe, let's say, of that conversation, even though you cannot infer tone when it's just being written and you're reading it, but there are some indications from words about the reflection of tone in which you can see if they are being serious, joking around, just being fans. And I was just being a fan on my one tweet. And on that tweet, I did say that I am hoping MLW to save New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then people screenshotted it. Well, one person did, who was very, very emotional. Like, you got to get that check, dude. You got to get that check, Orlando. Yes, I will be dropping names. His Twitter name was like Orlando Garcia, who's very, very emotional for no reason. And I noticed that when you talk with emotional Twitter users on Twitter, they want you to play the emotional conversation game, and I am not here for that. I will not be playing that game with you. I am here to either talk about facts, opinions, or maybe a perspective or something that is civilized, not something where I have to be as afraid of what's happening in wrestling that's not really happening, but you're trying to make it a reality because you're fantasy booking something bad happening when nothing bad is happening. And wrestling is on fire right now, and people have a lot of options to choose in professional wrestling. But no, you want to tell me, oh, you got to fix your thoughts. You shouldn't be thinking that. You shouldn't want WWE to be a monopoly. Where the fuck is WWE being a monopoly? Where? And nobody can define the word monopoly. Nobody can define the word grifter. But those are the buzzwords of today. Grifter and monopoly, and nobody can define them. And it's not really happening in the way that these fans who are so emotional, and they want you to be emotional because emotional is their currency, because they don't know how to regulate anything else on social media. They think that if you can be as emotional as you can, people are going to give you pity and people are going to go back and forth and fight with you while they're sleeping very, very good at night. And it's like, no, we're not playing that game, man. We're not. I am not afraid of what WWE is doing. WWE is making deals and partnerships. WWE is not buying out the competition. If that was the case, AAA will be on the vault. The same way that WCW and ECW, those two brands, are dead and they're not coming back. Did anyone in wrestling Twitter yell at Disney for buying up all of their competition so that way their competition could be under one roof, which is Disney? No, you guys didn't. But because it's WWE and you want to say WWE bad for everything, listen, at this point, just forget about WWE. Just forget about wrestling in general. And I really don't like doing that because people should enjoy the entertainment that they choose to want to be a fan of and be in a fandom. But the moment that you try to save someone else, like try to save me when I never asked to be saved because I know I don't need saving, it's like, look at yourself and look at the things that you say and how you approach the situation, how you approach the conversation. I did not really learn anything when I was talking to Orlando at all. And all of his emotional rants really did not add up to anything. We want to talk about the UK scene and say that WWE ruined the UK scene. No. And I will say here, and this is going to be stated for the record, this is not going to go anywhere. I will stand by this. The UK wrestling indie scene was destroyed by the Me Too movement way more than whatever WWE did to it. WWE at the time, when they were trying to quote unquote expand with having like NXT here, NXT there, NXT in the UK, and then changed it to NXT Europe, Triple H believed in the vision of showcasing professional wrestling on a grander stage where wrestlers could get paid, where wrestlers can learn how to build a character, because let me tell you, sometimes UK wrestlers don't have a personality to save their life. And it's like, you need a personality if you're going to be in this business. It's entertainment for a reason. Just because all of the other promotions in the world that do professional wrestling don't have the word entertainment in their promotion name doesn't mean that it's not entertainment. Everything that we have created in our lives that we know about requires some type of personality, some type of entertainment. You know, you have to make people laugh. You have to do this. You have to do that. Especially if you're a content creator, you have to be some type of entertainer. Wrestling moves and technical wrestling can only get you but so far. What else motivates you as a professional wrestler? What is your story about? What is your wrestling character lore? But nowadays in modern wrestling, we just tell wrestlers, yeah, be you, be you. But then sometimes they don't understand how to translate that into an actual wrestling character with a little bit of a guard up, because wrestling fans should not be as parasocial as they are when you see them on the internet. They shouldn't. So back to the whole thing. Triple H believed in showcasing these wrestlers on a grander stage, and he was doing it to help them. But just a bunch of life situations happened to where it never really took off to the way that Triple H wanted it to be, but they still got a platform. They still ended up getting paid. And that's one of the biggest things, that wrestlers should get paid. A hot dog and a handshake is not going to pay their bills. So of course they were going to go to WWE to do this, but then it just all fell through. That doesn't mean that WWE messed up the UK scene. No, sometimes the UK scene gets messed up because they don't know how to elevate themselves in order to get over with an American crowd. I say this all the time on my podcast show, that if you are a wrestler, you should understand the different audiences when you travel from country to country. American audiences are not going to act like the UK audience, even though there might be some crossover. The American audience is not going to act like the Japanese crowd if you go over to Japan. So you have to understand how to entertain and get over with different crowds. And that also goes with the states of you traveling as a wrestler. You have to know how to get over with the crowd in different states with the different promotions. You can't just be like, I'm a wrestler. I do wrestling moves. I do high flying moves. I do technical moves. Why are you not cheering for me? Because you have not hooked them. You have not hooked the audience. Now, the blame, if you want to blame somebody, it may go half and half just to have an equal blame. But if you're a wrestler, you really have to grind. You really have to work at it. It's not just being a wrestler. And that's sometimes the fault of UK wrestlers when they come over here to America. It's like you have to be moldable. You have to be shapeable. I was going to say bendable, but let's not go there. Get your mind out of the gutter, guys. But yeah, you cannot just say that WWE destroyed the UK scene without acknowledging the Me Too movement, where women out of every single corner you could think of came out and said, this person did something to me, when it could have just been as simple as he touched my shoulder. And I want to speak my story and my truth. Guys, this male wrestler touched my shoulder. And then when you question them, they're going to be like, oh, I don't know. I don't have the answer for that, but he touched my shoulder. I just want him out of professional wrestling. He shouldn't be here. He's so toxic. Get him out of here. And because of those tiny little stories, we could not tell the difference between an actual victim versus a victim who just wanted their 15 minutes of fame and wanted to destroy the guy. Because, again, that is what destroyed the UK scene. The UK scene is definitely rebuilding, but you cannot say that WWE was the problem and also the result of what happened in the UK. It was definitely the Me Too movement with all of the women coming out of everywhere to tell their stories, and we can't tell what's right and what's wrong, and that's bad because technically victims should get justice. They should. But if you're going to have a bunch of women come out at the same time and tell little tiny stupid stories about this guy touched my shoulder, this guy hugged me when I didn't want to hug. Well, did you communicate that you didn't want to hug? Doesn't matter. I didn't want to hug. And it's like those stories tend to muddy true victims. So it was the Me Too movement that destroyed the UK scene. Now, Good Karma 308 enters the chat. Of course this person does, because all this person does is argue with people, don't want to grow, calls other people dense, but is super, super dense and super, super in their own bubble, where I don't really say this at all. I really don't. You can follow and interact with whoever you want. Makes no difference to me. I probably have that person blocked or muted, but stop interacting with this account. This account knows nothing in the world of professional wrestling, knows nothing of WWE's plan, but acts all high and mighty to know that they want to do something that was talked about in like 2016, and we're going to get into it. I usually try to stay away from this account because I just know that we're going to have the same conversation. There's no understanding, there's no gaining of a new perspective, there's no like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, or that made sense. For some reason, accounts like this and other accounts want me to tell them what they want to hear, and that is not how I operate. I do not tell you guys what you want to hear. Sometimes I will tell you guys the uncomfortable truth when it comes to professional wrestling. And whenever I work shows and talk to people and gain some extra knowledge, I will share what I want to share, and I will tell you guys what's up in the world of professional wrestling, in the professional wrestling industry, because I have those connections and because I just have the knowledge. I'm not going to be here and say that AEW is good when it's not. It really isn't. It was good when it first started, and then like it just went all downhill after Cody Rhodes left, and that was the first domino effect. But right now, AEW is not good. Right now, WWE is firing on all cylinders, and they're doing good, but they're not doing great. but they are juggling a lot of things at this very, very moment. However, for Good Karma 308, it seems like that account is so dead set on trying to be right, trying to change people's opinions about things, and trying to live in this fantasy bubble that is not happening. It is not happening at all. I'm not sure if I'm going to go through all the tweets, but seriously, go get a hobby, go do something else. Wrestling is okay. Wrestling is on fire. Just because you want it to be shaped on how you always talk about it, that WWE is a monopoly and that WWE is going to be expanding in all the corners because Triple H wanted to do an NXT expansion all over the globe. And then when I'm like, hey, you're listening to the dirt sheets, that's a dirt sheet talking point. You're like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's what I believe. You should believe it too. And by the way, next time, refer to me as Marie Shadows. Do not say this person, this account. I am an actual human being, and I hope that you are a human being as well, and I'm not just talking to a bot. But with a little bit of respect, you'll have different conversations, you'll have a different outcome on Twitter, but because you don't respect anybody, and yet then you tell me that you want to hear this podcast episode and that you're interested, you're not. Because then you would have showed me some respect in your backhanded tweets about me. So we see all, but let's start with one of the backhanded compliments from Good Karma 308. He's responding to Orlando C. Garcia, the other guy that I blocked because, man, emotional baby. So Good Karma 308 is talking to Garcia and saying, that person, meaning me, hi, Marie Shadows, really is something else. Has an obvious bias against AEW despite claiming not to. Dances around the fact that they clearly just want WWE to buy New Japan Pro Wrestling and now thinks MLW can somehow save them. Make it make sense. Good Karma 308 and everybody else that I have interacted with over this weekend have been twisting my words and misrepresenting what I have said and even put words into my mouth. In no way, shape, or form did I use the word can when referring to MLW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. My words were, I'm hoping MLW to save New Japan Pro Wrestling. I never said that they can. I'm only saying that I'm hoping for them to save New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's all it is. I don't know why you guys want to twist my words, add words that aren't there, and speak for me on my behalf and tell other people what I'm all about when you know nothing about me. So I quote tweeted that and said, I'm Marie Shadows, not that person. Just because I'm not saying exactly what you want to hear about AEW doesn't mean you know my obvious bias. You guys really don't. And it's as plain as day, and I say with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we're watching this in real time. And if you guys don't want to watch it in real time, then why are you commenting on professional wrestling? Why are you acting all big and bad and being like, I'm trying to save the industry. I'm trying to make sure WWE doesn't become a monopoly. Don't you get tired? Like, seriously, don't you get tired? Because it's not going to happen that way. I continue on in my tweet and I say, this is what I state. Okay, and this is me being consistent in everything that I have done for the Square Circle podcast. I always state, I want a New Japan Pro Wrestling x WWE partnership. A partnership does not mean buying out the company. It does not mean that. Why are people always like taking out the important context on these things? Because context matters. And I also said the same thing what I said before, that I'm hoping MLW to save New Japan Pro Wrestling, not can. Hoping it happens because of the partnership and everything. And let's look at another tweet. And I have to set the scene. So Good Karma 308 was telling me and everybody else on Twitter that Triple H wants to expand NXT. Do you guys remember that when Triple H was like, yeah, we're going to expand NXT into Japan and Europe and all this kind of stuff? And Triple H was giving a presentation on doing that in some place, and we have the picture. However, that was like in 2016. That was so long ago, and it's not happening. It didn't happen. It fell through. NXT is still NXT. We have people from all over the world coming to NXT and showing off what they can do. We have the WWE ID program, which is a very good idea because your favorite indie wrestlers that I know that you're not supporting them are struggling on the indies right now. While they are getting bookings here and there and getting extra money for their merchandise that they sell at the merch table at these shows, they're still struggling to make it big and sign a contract. If you haven't noticed, promotions that you like are not really giving out contracts like that. AEW was giving out contracts like water, but then it's just like, oh, we can't sustain that. And then they get benched and stay on the couch. And that's it. That's the same thing with other promotions. All the smaller promotions are not really handing out contracts like that because, again, you have to at least make sure that you are doing your part and returning on the investment because they're investing in you to make sure that the money is going to someone that can do that for them to make the money back. This whole entire business is built on money. The world is built on money, which is unfortunate. The world should not really be built on 100% money where there's no wiggle room or a gray area where we can adjust to be like, hey, maybe this time it won't be about money, but be about something else of value. But we didn't build the world that way. So we have to talk about money. We have to talk about ratings. We have to talk about man-made metrics. So that's that. And this tweet that I am about to read to you is the reason why I'm doing this podcast, because it's all about Fantasyland. It's all about being in a fantasy world. And I need the world to hear this because this is hilarious. It really is. So he tweets out. So Good Karma 308 tweets out. Yes, he's a source. It's his plan, meaning Triple H. Triple H is the head of creative right now for Raw, SmackDown, and maybe a little bit of NXT. I don't know if that's true or not, but he's the creative guy for Raw and SmackDown. He is not looking to expand NXT in 2025. Good Karma 308 goes on to say, outdated, meaning the map he showed me, the picture he showed me. AAA just became NXT Mexico. No, it didn't. Where is your source? Who said that? Did Triple H say that? Do you have an insider? No, you don't. So no, you cannot be like, oh, let me put two and two together, or let me see how far this straw goes, man. No, that's not how that happened. Good Karma goes on to say, rather than build up the surrounding industry, people are going to shoot even harder to go there because the WWE ties. Of course, WWE is the main goal. And, you know, accounts like these and all the little accounts that think they're all big and bad and tough would say, why can't they build around? Why can't they build up everybody else and build up the promotion? Okay, you never give examples. You and everybody else who say some stupid shit like this never give examples as to how that can work. How can WWE build up the surrounding industry for people in Mexico that they don't have to go to WWE? How can that happen? Let us know. You guys never do. You guys always want to have this loophole to where if it ever does come true for whatever you say, you're going to circle back to it and then rub it in our faces. And we have to just take it because you guys don't like the clapbacks. So again, how can WWE build up the surrounding industry so people do not go to WWE? Plus, anyway, you're not supporting AAA. You never supported AAA. No one ever supported AAA like that until AAA got on the main stage with WWE, and WWE made AAA look like $1 million. The first time I ever watched Triple Mania, I was like, what is going on? It is so disorganized. It is so chaotic. And I know that what makes AAA, it being chaotic, it being messy. I totally get it. But sometimes promotions like that need a little bit of a guidance, a little bit of a focus. And look how the NXT Worlds Collide pay-per-view was presented. It was so beautiful. It was handed to us on a silver platter, and you're worried about AAA guys jumping over to WWE to work for WWE for more money so that way they could take care of their families and maybe invest in the hobbies that they couldn't really invest in because AAA is not really paying them that well. AAA made a deal with WWE. WWE didn't buy AAA, by the way. They made a deal because AAA was not having good financials and all of that and probably having some problem backstage to an extent. So you call up WWE and you're like, hey, we're having trouble. Can we make a deal? And can you help us stay afloat? And that is what happened. And WWE has allowed AAA to be AAA. So how does AAA turn into NXT Mexico? Good Karma goes on to say, NXT Europe is coming and the ID system is making sure indie talent doesn't sign anywhere else. Indie talent can go wherever they want to if they are in the ID system. The ID system is a good thing for indie wrestlers because you and everybody else that try to push their agenda and try to be bullies online, you guys don't know what these guys make on the indies. Some of them barely make shit. Some of them don't make anything at all when they get booked. Some of them are lucky to make maybe $20 at the merch table. You guys don't know because you're not there at these events. You guys don't know because you're not talking to wrestlers. You're not talking to them and being like, hey, what's going on on the indies? No indies is perfect. No wrestler is perfect. But to say that the ID wrestlers on the program can't sign anywhere else is not true. You don't know that. It never was confirmed or denied. Indie wrestlers can take bookings. Anyone that's in the WWE ID programming could get booked by other promotions. WWE's ID program Twitter account made a Twitter thread and told the whole world that, hey, promoters, you can book the WWE ID people on your show. It was a whole big thread. It got millions and millions of views, but yet then you want to live in this fantasy world and say that those that are in the WWE ID program cannot be signed anywhere else. They could get booked everywhere else. That contract is not being obligated to WWE. It can lead to something which is totally different, but it gives the indie wrestlers that are signed some money to travel, car fare, eating, paying bills, getting merchandise. So that way they can have all the tools necessary to become that WWE superstar, to become more than they are. But no, Good Karma 308 over here is repeating dirt sheet lies because no one is talking to the dirt sheets. The dirt sheets don't care about indie wrestlers. Dear indie wrestlers, if you want to get interviewed, I'm available for interviews that are not going to be like how dirt sheets treat you guys with no ounce of respect. Because to continue to say that in 2025 is wrong, that indie wrestlers can't get signed anywhere else if they're under the WWE ID program. They can. Like I said, it's not like a thing set in stone. If WWE said it's okay to book them in other promotions, that means they could get signed in other promotions. The other thing too is that Good Karma here tweets to tweets, responds just to respond. Let me read some more tweets here. We're going back to emotional Orlando Garcia for him saying, it's not a partnership. WWE wants its fingerprints in wrestling happening all over the world. That's a monopoly. They want to own everything. Didn't you saw what happened to the UK scene? They are literally still recovering from that. And that's where I shut him down with the whole Me Too movement. And the UK scene is not recovering from that at all. They're doing okay now. But the Me Too movement and the pandemic really destroyed the UK scene. And sometimes, you know, across the board, sometimes people can just get out of their own way. So somebody else comes in and says, so they want to behave like a business and that's bad. I'm sorry for you that they're not a baby of a billionaire that collects toys for his own amusement. Makes sense. And this is where Good Karma comes in because Good Karma thinks that they know everything. when WWE tries to corner the market with this NXT everywhere, and that is in quotations, keep that in mind, please, ID bullshit and buying promotions in other countries to make a pipeline to their roster, yes, it is. That's collecting toys too. Y'all are denser or just blinded by your devotion to $1 billion company. To which my buddy Kev comes in and says it's a TV show, to which Good Karma comes in without listening or even growing or getting a different perspective, says that's a downplay that the fact that it's an entire industry that spans continents. And here I come in with, so WWE is an entire industry now. WWE is the high standard in the wrestling industry. There are wrestling promotions all over that create the wrestling industry, yet others and myself are the dense ones. Like, you can't say that we're downplaying for some facts that you think that are 100% facts as an entire industry. All we've been talking about is WWE stuff. So of course I'm going to be like, so you're talking about WWE as an entire industry when we know that they're part of the wrestling industry. To which Good Karma over here says, let me explain it further, downplaying it to just being a TV show, again in quotation marks, when these plays that WWE are making can potentially have an impact on the entire industry and promotions. Now, I'm going to pause there for a bit because my next tweet was that I shouldn't ask, but we got to break this down a bit because this is what Good Karma 308 and other people do on Twitter. They use these words and phrases as loopholes, and I'm going to teach you guys something, so pay attention. When someone says can potentially have an impact on the entire industry and promotions, that is a loophole to say, hey, I am not sure, but it could happen. It can happen. There is a possibility. There is a potential ability for this to happen, and I'm hoping for it to happen because I want to be right. Good Karma and everybody else who call people stupid and who call people dense want to be right because there is maybe just a 0.000000001% chance of them being right, and they will screenshot it and they will throw it back in your face and be like, I was right all along. Because for some reason, the internet has taught people that you must win at everything. Yet we spent like a good chunk of life saying that everybody needs to get a participation trophy. Now on the internet is, I got to win at all costs because I just have to. And that's their mindset, which is very, very sad. So if you see accounts that will say can potentially happen, possibility, maybe, those are just loopholes for them to win. The dirt sheets do it all the time with their speculation. This is all speculation. You don't know. You don't know the impact. And then when I ask you the question of, tell me what the impact is. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, what's the potential big impact? Because this person knows all. Good Karma tells me having control over the market again. You want to know what I said? Because I quote tweeted it. So like territory days, that control over the market. You guys don't know wrestling history. You guys don't understand anything. You guys don't do research. Control over the market again. What are you talking about? Back in the day in wrestling, we had territories. We all know this. We had Mid-South Wrestling. We had NWA. You know, most of the promotions back then are not here today because they ran out of money. They couldn't book as well as they could because, yes, WWF at the time came in. Vince McMahon was a very smart man in the way that he dealt his dealings and what he did. But however, we all know this to be true in history that eventually good things dry up. And sometimes you cannot save those good things. You either adapt with the times when the good thing is going going to move on to something else. Let me put it in this perspective in the animal kingdom, right? So if we're in Africa in the safari, the animals know that during the seasons, their food and their water sources are going to be moving to a different place. They know this for years and years and years and years. Most animals will go and follow the path to go get food so that way they could survive. And they will also go to follow the path to go get water so they could survive. Those that want to be stubborn, those that do not want to see the truth, and those that want to deny, they get left behind. And then what happens? They die. That's what happened to the territories. Some of the territories were able to adapt. Some of the territories were able to make deals to stay around. OVW is still around and they were part of the territories. NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, was part of the territories, one of the big ones. And they had a little bump in the road and then they came back. They adapted. They're still here. But IWA Mid-South is not here. And any other promotions that I'm missing are not here because they did not adapt. They did not go where the money went. And now we can have a discussion, if you want to, that Vince bought everybody up. But if you have no money, if you have no way of reinventing your promotion at that time during the territory days, what do? You sell it to the next big guy because you know wrestling is going to continue. Your legacy is going to continue. People like myself and other people online are going to talk about NWA, IWA Mid-South, OVW, all of the territory days, and remind these little kids on Twitter that the territories once existed. So how is it that you are so fearful of this, that WWE is going to have control of the market share? Have control of the market, however it's phrased. Why are you so scared of that? Sometimes you have to really look at the promotions and be like, through bad decisions, that is why they're no longer around. That's why WCW is no longer around. Bad decisions. That's all it is. That's why ECW is no longer around, because of bad decisions. What is happening now in current 2025 professional wrestling is that WWE is going around and making deals. WWE right now is operating on a different level. AEW is nowhere near that. Not at all. AEW is damaging Ring of Honor. They're damaging CMLL. They're damaging New Japan Pro Wrestling. I have a whole playlist on how they're damaging New Japan Pro Wrestling. Do not come into my mentions or comments asking for how that's happening, because I will just drop my playlist. We have been in this trenches with New Japan Pro Wrestling now being the bare bones for the past 5 years, 6 years if we want to. And you guys are still going to ask, oh, how does New Japan Pro Wrestling need saving? How is AEW damaging New Japan Pro Wrestling? It's like, it's right there, guys. It will be in your best interest to just tell me and others, well, I don't see it that way, and then block and move on. Anyway, back to the deals that WWE is making right now. WWE is making deals with TNA, AAA, Pro Wrestling Noah. I don't know anything about Marigold at the moment, but we'll see soon. And WWE is allowing these promotions that they are in dealings with, partnerships with, not a buyout, because that's different. WCW got bought out, ECW got bought out, the territories got bought out, and they're all in the fucking vault. TNA, Pro Wrestling Noah, and AAA are not in the vault, okay? That's not happening. Use your eyes. And so they are allowing these promotions to be themselves. WWE might end up just being like, hey, this is how we do it in the entertainment business, the TV business. Present yourself this way. Do it this way. This is the vision that I see for your entrance. They give them help so that way they can stand on their two legs. Because this whole back and forth argument with Good Karma, 308, and everybody else, here's my one question. If WWE was so evil, how come they didn't buy up TNA when they could have bought TNA in the past? They let TNA survive for the past 23 years. But no, the moment that I mention anything New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, you guys throw a fit if I mention anything about AEW bad that you think that I'm saying is bad, because I never said it was bad outright. I just said that they have to improve. They're not improving. They're not listening. They're carrying around a bunch of baggage that is not helping them. Their wrestlers like Ricochet and everybody else that talk shit online is not helping their presence. You guys consider all of that bad and then jump on me, and then if I say anything about WWE or not say anything about WWE because I barely talk about WWE, you guys think that I am pro WWE. And it's like, no, if you guys just get out of your own fucking way and listen to good content creators that put things into a perspective and even have conversations that try to put things into perspective on Twitter, it would be a much happier place. It would be. I do not like the fact that we have to divide more. We shouldn't be dividing in the wrestling community. We should be coming together, but also have some reality and some common sense. But to go after people that you don't agree with is really shallow, is really low. And then you wonder why you get the pushback that you get, the backlash that you get. And then you want to play the victim and be like, oh, but they're mean to me. And you're the one that's being triggered, and you're the stupid one, and you're the dense one. When has name calling ever solved anything? When has your anger ever solved anything? I'm just a little frustrated because idiots will be idiots. And I know I just talked about name calling, but let's just call it for what it is. Idiots being idiots that don't want to improve, and you cannot fix dense people. You cannot fix stupid people. You cannot fix anybody else unless they want to be fixed. The thing about the internet is that anybody can get any kind of character going, not show their real face, want to hide behind a profile picture, a wrestler picture, a non-profile picture, and they want to be tough because the internet gives them that shield, because they know in real life that's never going to be them. They're never going to have the balls in real life to stand up for what they believe in every time that they tweet online and get brownie points for being wrong and loud. Oh, and being a wrestling activist 24/7. They want brownie points for that. Go somewhere else to go do your activist stuff, because wrestling is to escape. It's not to look at wrestling 24/7 through a political lens when there does not need to be a political lens. But how else are you guys going to grift your way into the currency on Twitter by doing that? Because it's really sad that you guys take certain things and make it your whole personality, and no one knows who you really are. That's also one of the downfalls of the internet, is that anything can be created to be a personality, but if you actually meet these people in real life, they're probably not about that life. They probably don't believe in the shit that they tweet out on Twitter. I do. I stand by what I say and what I think and my thoughts, but I don't tell my audience, you have to believe in what I say or else. No, I don't do any of that stuff. My fans could come in, they could listen to this. It is free to listen to. It is on Spotify. It is on YouTube. It is on Substack. It is everywhere. They could listen to it. They could comment on it. They could give me their perspective. They could disagree. They could agree. They could agree to disagree with me. And that's okay. That's how a conversation happens. Just because I believe in something that someone else doesn't believe in doesn't mean that I have to push my belief on them or they have to push their belief on me. And that's what we're seeing in the IWC and all over the internet. It's like, if you don't believe in me and I'm not going to change my stance, then you are an enemy to me. And that is wrong. That is a very toxic mindset to have, because all of us have really good ideas. We are meant to work with each other. We are meant to bounce off ideas. Of course, we're going to have arguments. Of course, we're going to be upset and curse each other out. But that's just the nature of the game, because we have free will. And we also have the ability to think for ourselves, and we have emotions and everything else. But you also have to look at situations and be like, is this situation a time to get emotional? And if it is, why are you getting emotional if someone just wants to have a conversation, or someone is expressing something that they like, something that brings them joy. Like MLW brings me joy. Working with MLW brings me joy. Working with all the wrestlers that I get to work with at MLW brings me joy. Working with the ring crew brings me joy. Like, it's a fucking family. And I get excited to know that we gave really good awards to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we treated them like family, and we will always treat them like family, and we gave them the respect that they deserve. And for me to fangirl a little bit, let me fangirl. If you don't like that I fangirl, scroll on by. It's okay, because you're not here to help. You don't have a big brain to be like, oh, I see where she's going with this. It's automatically an attack. It's automatically calling me stupid. It's automatically saying that whatever I say and whatever other people that interact with me, you guys want to be like, this is impressively impressive. Like, what is that supposed to mean, dude? Impressively stupid. Wow. And I'm really convinced that people don't know how to use words. I really don't. Because how is it impressively stupid? You can tell me you don't understand and you want me to elaborate. That's fine, which I didn't really elaborate on the whole me wanting MLW to somehow save New Japan Pro Wrestling. Because somebody again was like, how can they manage that? And again, the word manage does not replace save. It does not. And by the way, the very simple answer is the same exact way that MLW has been using the New Japan wrestlers. Kushida comes in for a match, has a match. Kenta comes in for a match, has a match. We have Kojima comes in, he's champion. You know, the same way they always been doing it, nothing different. I don't know what these small accounts want from me. And whatever you want from me, you're not going to get it. Okay? You're not going to get it. And for people that say that I am thick, hell yeah, I got thick thighs, but man, I'm definitely not thick in my thinking. I will compromise if I need to compromise, if it's logical. But if all you want me to do is say exactly what you want me to say, because other content creators out there say the same thing and you agree with them, those guys are fake. Those people want you because they need your money, and you guys are suckers for it. If a content creator tells you exactly what you want to hear, they're not a good content creator, because they're not questioning. They're not giving you their thoughts. They're giving you the thoughts that you have always wanted to hear, and you are agreeing with them and you are paying them, and they have no thoughts of their own. So it's like the sheep being sheep, still being sheep. Like, you need your own thoughts. Here on the Square Circle podcast, while I appreciate everyone that tunes in, yes, I also want money too, but I also want conversation. Also, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear, because then that's not going to make any of us smart. Through the exchange of knowledge, I rather you spend your hard-earned money because I am someone that you think gives you value, gives you knowledge, gives you perspective in professional wrestling. I am never going to be a millionaire. I do not want to be a millionaire. I would like to be comfortable. But for all the other content creators out there that do it as a true grifting job, meaning they swindle you out of your money because you want to hear the exact thoughts that you have and that you keep in your bubble, that is an actual grifter, because they are not giving you value. I am here to tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and sometimes the uncomfortable, if we need to go to the uncomfortable. And I'm not really going to go through any of the other tweets, just because it's like, what is the point? Because I know that if Good Karma 308 comments on the YouTube video, nothing will change. The same rhetoric that is on my Twitter timeline at Marie_Shadows that you guys could check out will be the exact same talking points, the exact same thought process, and nothing new would have been learned. I am here to at least have somebody say they learned something new. I'm here to teach. This is what the Square Circle podcast is about. This is what Marie Shadows is about. I have a whole different outlook on professional wrestling because I work in the business. I have a whole different outlook on professional wrestling because I have that access. And I am so thankful to have that access. And I don't look at wrestling in the way that everybody else wants me to look at it. I'm here to teach you. I'm here to tell you what's up. And that's gonna be that. Stop living in a fantasy bubble. Stop coming after people who are experts. Stop trying to be like, I'm big and bad, knowing that you're not big and bad. You're not. Stop trying to fearmonger fans into your way of thinking. That is toxic. Stop trying to be an activist in wrestling when you're not going to be an activist for any kind of big company, big business in this world that does the same shit as WWE. But then again, you guys don't really run a business. You guys tweet from your phone, from your laptop, thinking that you know what's up and you know about business when you don't know about business. Buying companies and forgetting about them is a really bad thing. And that happened during the Vince era. Buy a company, don't really know what to do with their guys, release like half the roster, keep some of them, eventually release everybody else, and put WCW and ECW and the territories in a vault, and that's that. In today's era, it is about getting a partnership and building everybody else as you build yourself. New Japan Pro Wrestling is bare bones right now thanks to AEW. There's no building there. Ring of Honor is behind a paywall that no one buys or subscribes to, and no one knows what's going on. Rampage got canceled, and that should have opened up all of the AEW sickos' eyes. Collision is on its way to be canceled, probably. I don't know. I don't have insider information, but probably Collision might be on the way unless Tony Khan really wants to fight for it. But Collision has been doing really bad in ratings, so eventually it's going to be let go, and that's the last of a dying breed, if I can say. So, yeah. Oh, wait, I just remembered. You guys remember a little bit earlier when I was saying that Good Karma put NXT everywhere in quotation marks, and that's very important for you guys to remember. Let me break that down because yes, I do have a degree in creative writing, and obviously I had to take English courses, grammar courses, all that kind of stuff for creative writing. So whenever somebody puts quotation marks around certain words or phrases, they really do not believe in what they're telling you. So because Good Karma did that, everything in our conversations back and forth is bullshit. And I know it's bullshit coming from Good Karma's side because all Good Karma does is repeat what the dirt sheets say, and that person takes that very, very seriously. So if you're going to put NXT everywhere in quotation marks, you don't believe in what you're talking about, because nobody would do that if they believe in what they're talking about. The quotation marks can mean different things. A direct quotation, highlighting a specific term, or indicating irony or sarcasm. In this instance with that tweet, Good Karma is highlighting something that Triple H has said in the past, or maybe he didn't, I don't know. I would need confirmation on that. Or maybe the dirt sheet said it and then Good Karma is running with it. Regardless, if you believe in your heart of hearts that this is truly what Triple H wants to do, make NXT everywhere, you would not have put NXT everywhere in quotation marks. Because you did that and you have to highlight that, you don't believe it yourself. If you believe it, you wouldn't have to be like, oh, let me highlight whatever Triple H said or whatever the dirt sheet said. You would say that Triple H wants to do this. Triple H intended to do this. Triple H wants to put NXT everywhere without quotation marks. Because sometimes when we listen to speakers or read something and we agree with that, we tend to bring it into our beliefs. And if you believe that this is what Triple H wants to do since 2016, even though he really hasn't done it, if this is what you believe and you want to keep pushing on Twitter, then take those quotation marks out, because it's no longer a highlight. It's something you believe, stand by it, but you don't stand by anything. You don't stand by your own thoughts. That should be clear. You don't stand by your own thoughts. You stand by what the dirt sheets tell you. And this is another perspective that everybody can listen to and think about when you constantly read the dirt sheets. Constantly, subconsciously, that stays within your mind. So when you're typing and arguing against people that are not going to be paying attention to you, and you use quotation marks in that way, you have already been brainwashed. You already believe the propaganda. Even though when we call you out, you're going to deny. The stuff you read eventually becomes your own beliefs. That's why it's very scary to accept all forms of propaganda, accept all forms of what you read, and you never question what you read. When you question what you read, when you question what you see, when you question what you hear, and when you question what other people tell you, that is how you gain knowledge. That is how you become unstoppable. You become confident in your own thoughts. You become confident in who you are with the little gray area that you can understand someone's perspective. You can grow. You can agree to disagree in a conversation. You could be mature about it. So that's why it's important to not read the dirt sheets. That's why it's important to not believe the propaganda. That's why it's important to not believe in all the lies that the dirt sheets say, and then you're going to use it to just talk about it over and over again without trying to mature with what you read. Sometimes, again, like I said, depending on what we are exposed to over and over time, it gets embedded into our subconscious. And sometimes people don't even notice this happens, but I know this is happening, and I'm calling it out, and I'm making you guys aware of it. That whatever you are so constantly reading, if you're not questioning it, you're not gaining the knowledge to become a better person in understanding the world. Now, are we gonna understand the world 100%? No. Are we gonna understand people 100%? No. But a little 1% goes a long way in trying to better yourself, in trying to better the environment, not trying to create division, and trying to let people live wherever they can and whenever they can. So again, quotation marks, if you believe in something and if you are pushing something, do not use quotation marks to highlight a part of a speech that you know that you want to believe, but you don't want to believe. It's a little complicated, a little muddy, but that's the idea behind it. If Good Karma truly believed everything that Good Karma was just responding with, because there's no moment of like reflection, if Good Karma believes in everything that Good Karma tweets out, you wouldn't be using quotation marks to highlight something. It will be part of your belief system. That's how that works. Okay, let me wrap this up with my one last tweet, and then I'll tell you guys where to find me. This is the last tweet. It feels like no low IQ wrestling, and I put that in quotation marks to be sarcastic, irony, to be like, yeah, sure, these are not really wrestling fans. It feels like no low IQ wrestling account wants to mature and understand the wrestling industry in a larger than life kind of way and changing for the better. You can't run with outdated info hoping it'll come true. You can't fix dents when it's talking for the sake of talking. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this episode on the Square Circle Podcast where I'm talking about people's fantasies and popping that bubble, then by all means, please share this out. Have someone else listen to it. This podcast episode will be available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify. If you guys have not been following the Spotify channel, just search up Square Circle Podcast and hit that follow button and all notifications so you never miss an episode ever again. You could also leave comments. You guys can also head over to youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast because this episode will be up on the channel as well. You guys can give it a like. You guys can subscribe to the Square Circle Podcast. And you guys can also join the membership. That's right. The Square Circle Podcast has a membership tier for the low price of $1.99 and $6.99. And you get different types of content, and you also support the channel. If you guys support me and you guys resonate with this, by all means, come on board. Welcome to the family. Join the chat community. That's what I'm going to call you guys. I'm going to call you guys chat because it's so simple. What up, chat? Anyway, youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. Also leave comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Anything at all. You guys can do that. I will be commenting on everything and looking at everything. And then also, if you have not signed up to my wrestling newsletter, marieshadows.substack.com. There's extra content over there on the wrestling newsletter. It is free. You could always upgrade to a paid tier for extra content. Also, guys, if you want to support me outside of these platforms that take a percentage of what you guys give to them for me, for the memberships, and you guys want to support me directly, head over to my Fourth Wall website. Not only do I have merchandise there, but I do have memberships, and I have member-only merchandise as well. That link, the Fourth Wall link, will be down in the description below. I know everybody has a Patreon, but Patreon does not fit my creative style. And I hope that you guys can follow me over there at Fourth Wall. And like I said, the link to that will be down in the description box below and also in the pinned comment on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast and everywhere else. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee, which means that if you cannot commit to a monthly or even a yearly membership and just want to do a one-time, no strings attached, no commitment to send however many coffees, because I love iced coffee, you could do that at buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows. And that will be the greatest support that you could ever do for a one-time non-commitment kind of deal. And that is okay. Everybody has a different budget, and I look out for your budgets. In the next podcast episode, I will be talking about MLW and my experience and what I did that day, and then also talking to you guys about the new shows that are coming out and ways to support me and all that kind of stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening to a episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.